my goodness. Hopefully that's the right button. Let's go with that being the right button. Yeah, that looks like it. Smooth. Smooth as ever. Here we are. Good evening. Welcome back to Molten Live. Still restreaming, strangely, onto Facebook and Twitch and YouTube. So in some ways I feel more naked than normal. I feel like I'm being watched in all sorts of strange places, which isn't necessarily a good thing. Just might do a little bit of rearranging here. Hang on a second. Hi Ken, hi Steve, Brian, Eleni. I'm just going to stick it over there, I think. Is that going to work? Without me dropping things? That way, I'm looking in the right direction then. So let me know if you can hear me. That's always a good start. You can see me, and that and you're as relaxed and chilled as I am. I'm pretty exhausted, I think is the word I'm looking for. After all this. Oh look, there's a hole there, or two. Gracious, what am I going to do? After all this live stream malarkey, I've only got one nearly left. It's a bad sign. It's yeah, so it's been good. It's been good. It's been an interesting couple of weeks. It was definitely an idea that came up just before Christmas, funnily enough, because I was talking to Tim Exile about Endless and thinking that we really need to talk about this. I didn't have a clue what he was talking about for the majority of the conversation. That's not quite true. But he was talking about weird and strange futuristic stuff, and everything that I'd heard about the thing that may not be named, it has been really, really negative. So it was really interesting to hear someone talk about it in an intelligent and informed kind of way. So because of that, I thought, hey, well, we should have a live stream and like talk about it and stuff, and I'll get some other people in. And that, from that conversation, ballooned this idea that, oh, look, it's NAMM in a couple of weeks, or rather it's not NAMM. So why don't I put together some live streams? I'm sure other people will be too, and it'll be a bit of a jamboree like before. So that was the intention behind it, was to do something like we have the last couple of years in the absence of NAMM, or the last year, I suppose, to put on some live streams. But it seemed like nobody else was doing anything, and so it kind of felt like it was just me. And you'd kind of think that would mean I would scoop a huge audience share. But no, not really. It was the usual, awesome and faithful crowd, who I'm forever grateful for hanging around, who came along and enjoyed whatever it was that I did. So in terms of massively expanding my brand or gathering new audiences, that didn't really happen. But nonetheless, it was an interesting time. And spoke to some interesting people, and I think on the whole the live streams really worked from my point of view anyway. Certainly leading up to it was a little bit scary as I was trying to get the whole thing together, but once it started to go, then actually it was all right, and everybody we had on seemed to be articulate and eloquent and had something to say for themselves, and that was good. That was worthwhile, I felt. Any particular feedback from you lot, throw it in the comments. I'll be interested to know how people felt that it went. Did I up my game? Was the quality of the video good? Was the elements like I put this new intro in, which you saw tonight again as well, which seems slightly better than just crashing into the start of a video. It seemed like a good idea. Which forever reminds me that I need to redo the intro to the Molten Music Monthly, because that is like literally 8 years old, I think, and was from a different time. A very different time when I was doing something else. So, yeah, I really need to just give that a day and redo it. Come up with something else that's a bit more appropriate to what we do these days. So my understanding is that you can hear me, which is great. So I'll just carry rattling on then. Tanuki, you say you watched it. It's still not clear why you can't have a functional Rift store without using an NFTs. You can, absolutely you can. You can do a Rift store by post if you want. There's nothing to stop you doing that. You know, absolutely. There's nothing, I don't think, that's really going to introduce fantastically new ideas that couldn't be done on pen and paper. The question is, do people want to do it on pen and paper? Do people want a way of securing your intellectual ownership of a riff in a continuing smart contract as that riff is traded and moved about? I suppose that's the question. Do you want what that offers? I don't know that people do necessarily. I wonder whether... Oh, that's not going to work for me. I'm going to need to find a power supply. 1 second. Otherwise that's going to keep on turning off. So where's that then? That's here. So the question, as with any new bit of technology, really, is it helpful? That's the only question, really. And if it is, then great. If not, then But I don't know. I'm not exactly qualified to speak on that, other than to say that the idea behind it is certainly to do with protecting people's rights and ownership of something. That's more or less it, really. But anyway, I've never made money out of music, so it's kind of irrelevant to me. I don't imagine that'll ever change. And I'll continue receiving a check in the post and sending out CDs like old Web 1.0, I suspect. Hi, Music Easel. Hi, Hellseeker. Hi, is that Neil Young in the audience? That's awesome. Andrew, good to see you. Do you think it prompted Neil Young in his actions? No, not in the slightest. No, that's to do with Joe Rogan. It's nothing to do with NFTs. I don't see the relevance. Yes, Neil Young and Van Morrison are two very separate people. Yes, very much. Yeah, I mean that's an interesting cultural thing. I wonder whether... I mean, there's got to be, say, I don't know, a good 100,000 songs on Spotify, the lyrics of which I don't agree with. The lyrics and the idea and the intent behind the song are probably morally ambiguous at best, if not just plain awful. You know, we don't exist in a vacuum, and trying to cancel, for better of a want of word, a certain point of view that you don't agree with, I think is difficult on any platform. I mean, you can't really go on the radio because the radio expresses all sorts of different views. So therefore you can't go on the internet. The internet expresses all sorts of different views. In fact, you shouldn't really be put on a record player, because on that record player you could put something that has different political views. So I feel it's, from my point of view, being a person who makes about 3 cents every year on Spotify, that it's going to make no difference to anything whether I'm there or not. And my being on Spotify, does that make me complicit somehow in supporting some right-wing lunatic? No, any more than it does supporting, I don't know, some kind of death metal artist who's screaming about wanting to murder people. Anyway, blah blah. That's not really what we're here to talk about. But you know me, I'm a kind of a person who likes to see balance, who likes to find positivity in these things, likes to take an optimistic view. And I think that, old fogies like Neil and Pave Paradise lady, whose name I now can't remember, are awesome in standing up and doing what they believe is right. I think that's fantastic. They should absolutely do that. Totally. If Spotify went away, would that be a cool thing or a bad thing? I don't know. I mean, I don't personally use it. I do have some music on it for what that's worth. But I know that from my kids' point of view, it's an incredibly useful way of finding and discovering music and artists and following chains of thought. Particularly if you're coming to music for the first time, it's an enormous resource. And I'm not familiar enough with any of the other platforms to know whether they do that as well. Joni Mitchell, thank you, Ken. Dear oh law. I have no idea who Joe Rogan is. You know. So I don't really have a whole lot to say on that. Other than, yes, anyway, so let's move on then. So thank you for that sidebar into weirdness. So, Andrew, yes, you've got some of the booklet stuff on its way to you. Yeah, it's be interesting to see how that works into stuff. It's again one of these situations where TikTok are releasing these in drips and drabs, and I wonder if that's a good idea or not. I don't know. It's a bit like the Behringer stuff. I got word, right, that the sequencer of the 2500 modules is on its way. It's on its way. It's looking very sad down there in the 2500 rack, which I haven't touched in a long time. It's waiting for those last two modules to come in. The other one is still a few weeks away. Tobin were going to sit there and wait until they both turned up before sending me to them, but I gave them a little poke. And so they're coming through, which is great. Yeah, anyway, synths. Thanks, Matt. Yes. Oh, yeah, I wanted to... somebody pointed this out. I only glanced at it. Now, I don't know if you're following my epic learning of the Erica Synth VCO. It was amazing. I mean, it was hours and hours. I did 2.5 hours, I think, on that Friday night, the first Friday night, where I kind of thought we would learn a bit about it, put it together, and it would be done. No. Didn't get anywhere like that. But what we did discover was how big the question is, how large the subject is. And when you're coming from a position of not knowing a whole lot, knowing some, but not knowing a whole lot, there was a lot to learn. There's a lot to understand. And it was also interesting working through a manual that somebody had written, that Mr. Klein, Moritz Klein, had written for us, and working through that in, it's trying to grapple with the way he's explained things, which he explained things perfectly well, perfectly adequately. But that didn't mean it was easy. It was certainly a challenge to get my head around the Schmidt triggers and the op amps and how they wire together and how that related to the breadboard in front of me and how easy that was to work with. It was absolutely fascinating. I mean, I got a bit ratty at sometimes because it's like, God damn it, just give me a bill of materials, just give me a list of what's supposed to be in it. That seemed to be, to me, the main flaw, really. There weren't really any flaws, but that was, if I was going to pick something out, it was that really stumped me, because I had to measure every resistor. I mean, there's no bad thing in that necessarily, but I was unsure about so many of the components, and that could easily have been solved, because any kit that you buy, any time you're trying to build something, you will come up with a list of what you need, So you don't generally start a project not knowing what any of the components are. You generally have a list. And I believe that Moritz is going to start including a simple bill of materials with each build, which fantastic. I think that will help. It will just get you over that initial hump of going, I don't know what any of these things are. And now the manual that he produced had a lot of great detail on individual components, but not the actual components, if you see what I mean. So it was very helpful in that regard, but just not in identifying the actual bits and pieces. What size breadboard did I buy? I don't know. I don't know. I went to Amazon and I looked. There was like, you could buy a dozen of them in different shapes and sizes. No, they're mostly all the same sort of shape. So it ended up. So I looked at what Moritz had on his video, and I bought one that looked similar. That sort of size. I mean, this actually came in a pack with 2 of these, plus 2 smaller ones, and a whole bunch of ridiculously long patch wires. But what I felt was that if I had a couple of these, it meant that I could leave one set up and build another one if needs be, or have 2 things next to each other. Don't know why they're sticky on the back. Do we know why they're sticky on the back? I don't know. Stick them on your wall? I don't know. I don't know why that is. But anyway, so I don't know whatever size that is. It goes from 1 to 65 down the side. I don't know. So I just picked one. I didn't go with any knowledge. I just looked at what was on Moritz's video, looked at it on Amazon and pulled the trigger. It cost about a tenner. 12 quid maybe. I'm thinking about it. Full-size normal breadboard. There you go. That's what it's called. In fact, the thing that says that down the side. Full-size normal breadboard. No, it doesn't. But I mean, I guess they must be similar. He agreed that a bomb was needed to be publishing one, didn't he? Yes, I don't know if he's published the updated manual yet. He certainly was doing it on the next ones coming out. So yeah, he's definitely doing that. So that's awesome. However, the reason why I went over there to look at this is because I've missed something off. Somebody pointed out on YouTube today. Sorry, like I say, I only glanced at it, so I'm not entirely sure who it was. And they reckon that I'd missed out a resistor. And I'm thinking to myself, nah, there's no way did I miss out a resistor. I went through that so carefully, and at the end it worked. So how could I possibly have missed out a resistor? But yeah, no, true enough. It's flipping missing resistor. R11, a stand-up one, and it's there sitting on the breadboard poking out, and I'd even remarked on it going, oh look, there's a resistor left, I wonder where that goes. So there you are. So I'm gonna have to put that in. R11 it is, that's missing. But otherwise, once I got through the brain ache of understanding what was happening, once I got through that because I hit that difficulty where the output of one of the op amps wasn't connected in the diagram, and was mentioned very briefly that it wasn't connected. That threw me for a long time, trying to work out that. But it also pushed me in a situation where I had to work it out. I had to work it out for myself, where it was supposed to go, why wasn't it connected, all those sorts of things. And that was really very interesting. Yeah. Sure, take Ian's advice. I've no idea. I spent 12 quid. I couldn't seem to be able to spend more than that. So there you go. There you go. I can't vouch for my breadboard appeared to work as far as I could tell. There was nothing about that was wrong about it. I don't know. I have no experience of it, but it seemed to work okay for me. So yeah, I must put the other resistor in there. Okay. Well, if somebody can find a source of expensive breadboards, then do stick a link. Do stick a link in, and that would be super. That would be super. The other thing I did was track down a scope, because, with building this, there was a couple of things, I suppose, that I ran into that didn't necessarily sit well with the idea of learning about electronics. And I mean, that's not fair or right, but it's just kind of, do you really need an oscilloscope to do this? Do you really need a multimeter? But then you rewind that down. Do you really need a soldering iron? Do you really need a breadboard? Can't you just do it by winding wires together? So, I don't know. In some ways, they need to sort of make a bit more of a fuss about it. I didn't feel like the start of the manual said, you are going to need this gear before you start. In fact, they need that on the website to say, you will need this gear before you start. I think that's important. I'm drinking Adam's Ghost Ship this evening. You beer spotters. It's nice. It's nice. What was I saying? Yes, yeah. So things like a soldering iron. Of course, one needs a soldering iron. Yes, and some solder. Yes, some safety specs. Maybe yes. But an oscilloscope felt like, sure we can't really do away with that. And then what was the other thing I was talking about? Oh yeah, a multimeter. But then these things do become important. I don't think there's a way around that. And I think one thing I want to do is put together. Somebody asked me to put together a little. Put together. That's all right, Cosby. That's all right. I wasn't taking it personally. What was I saying? Oh yeah. So no. What was? Yes. So I went. Yes, of course. Sorry. Come on, get a grip now. So yes, I want to put together a beginner's guide to soldering. Now I did do this already to some degree, but specifically for this project, it would be good just to put together a little summary of the bits and pieces that you would need before embarking on this project, because I think that would be helpful, because I'm very much into the idea, I'm a champion for doing it as simply as possible. I don't want tons and tons of gear. I know that sounds ridiculous, look at me, but in terms of for soldering and engineering and bits and pieces, I don't want to turn my shed into a lab. I want this to be an occasional fun thing to do where I might learn something. And building kits is great, but I don't want to start building in protective shielding or electromagnetic, anti-static, this, that and the other, or extraction fans, hazmat suits, all this kind of rigmarole that apparently I need an oven and a heat gun and all this sort of thing. Trying to keep it simple and attainable for people to keep that bar low, because the last thing I want to do is discourage people from giving it a go because there's too much gear you have to buy. So I want to get it down to the absolute bare minimum so that people can get in without having to spend too much money and don't feel they've got a load of useless gear that they're never going to use again. So that's what I'm after. Now I really do appreciate that there's lots of people who do it properly and do it well and will advise for a lot more gear, and that's fine. You can keep on doing that, please do, because it might be useful to people. But I will always be pushing back against that gently, just to say that keep it simple. Don't spend hundreds and hundreds of pounds on the gear. Just keep it under control. Yeah. So with that in mind, I do have a multimeter because that seemed like a sensible purchase, and they're not that expensive. So again, I'll put that in as well. And because my eyesight's terrible on the old reading the rings, it is a useful thing. And I honestly only use it I use it for two things. I use it for measuring resistors, and I use it for fault finding because it goes beep when it connects. Do you know what I mean? It has a lot of other functionality that I don't have any clue about. Now, I did ask people about scopes because I've got the O'Toole, which is fine, but it's small and it's fussy and it has to be in a Eurorack case, and so it's not always convenient for when you're working on a breadboard or something like that. So I've looked into these DSO 138s that people talk about as these little scopes, and they look great. Again, you've got 1,000 different ones to choose from. all around about the same price. It's difficult to buy the better one because you don't know which one it is, and they're all flipping coming from China. There were some in Europe, but sadly places in Europe don't send stuff to the UK anymore, so that's of no help. But in the end, I was advised by a YouTuber called Lily, who said that I should get the mini one. The good thing about the mini one is that although the screen is the same size, the PCB is much smaller and it's run on 5 volts, which means you can plug it into USB, or actually you can plug it in, power it via Eurorack, which is like perfect, because the last thing I need is another wall wart to be running something. So that sounded like an awesome idea to me. So I've looked for the mini everywhere, couldn't find any anywhere other than China, but finally I did, and I've ordered one in. I did feel like ordering 50. I felt if I ordered 50, I could probably easily sell them on. But I think it's ended up costing 30, 40 quid or something with shipping. So I wouldn't know what to do with a pro level scope. I'd have no clue, mate. I don't think that would be helpful to me. I want something just simple, something which is a lot of people are using. Simpler the better. And I don't have the space putting a bloody scope somewhere. And again, trying to get across the idea to beginners that this is the gear you need. You can order these bits on eBay. It'll be there in a sort of 3 weeks and off you go. I think that is more helpful than getting people to try to trawl through eBay to try to find a second-hand oscilloscope that they then don't really know how to use. You know, something this big that looks like it doesn't matter if you threw it away. It's perfect. It's exactly the sort of thing. When you look for the breadboards, Andrew, on Amazon, not on Amazon, most kits that come with breadboards do come with patch wires. Yes, so they seem to. In my limited amount of research, which is going breadboards. Oh look, it's on Amazon. Buy it. So yeah, this is going to continue to be a fascinating thing. I mean, I can show you if you like. You can have a glimpse of the stuff that's coming up. Because Erica sent me out a bunch. Now I'm not going to show you it all because I think there could be some spoilers. But suffice to say that there's a power supply in here that we're going to be building. I mean, it's interesting about whether you do the power supply and case first or not. I mean, the VCO I think is absolutely the best thing to do first because it makes a noise, and it's the centre and heart of a Eurorack system, so that you know once you've built it, it's making a noise. That's going to be very, very pleasing. But you're stuck with not having a case to put it in. So if you don't have a case, you can't hear it anyway. So maybe the power supply should have been first, but then you don't really want to build a case if you're not sure you're going to enjoy building the modules. See what I mean? Anyway, so I have the case in here. I'm not going to get it all out because I think that would be I think we want to keep it going for a few months. But I have all the bits and pieces in here which I haven't opened or looked at. But it's going to be great. I'm really excited about doing these over the next 6 weeks. 6 months as Erica Synths releases them. So the plan is every time Erica Synths releases one for purchase, I'll give it a week or two and then I'll do a live stream build of it, probably over 2 nights, knowing how it went how it went last time. But you know, we'll plan for one and have one spare just in case later in the week. How did it go, Robert? Tell me how it went. VCA next, is it? Okay, cool. That's not quite as exciting. There's not a whole lot you can do with the VCA by itself. It's kind of it's not a thing, I don't suppose. So yeah, so that was that. I enjoyed that very much. To say I enjoyed it is to say that the challenge of it was real, and it was good. It was good working through it. I felt I earned every component on this thing. That's what happened. So yeah, it's going to be good. Daunting a little bit because I'm having to learn a lot of stuff, but it's also good because it's really got my mind churning about modules and potential Molten modules down the line. And I feel, I might have scratched that, I feel that I'm potentially closer to not just having an idea for a module, but being able to breadboard it out. That's just nuts. I can't do that, but no, I think perhaps to some degree I could. I don't know. Easy Builder is my first ever rack item, so we need a case and power to test it. And oh no, what have I got into? Yes, indeed you do. But I mean, I think the plan for the case, if it's not the next thing, I think it will be about the third thing. So I think they'll get to the case soon. And the case is very simple. I mean, it's fixed because these are all the same size, and so it's just got holes along the case for each of these. It's not as if it's got sliding nuts or proper threaded bars or anything like that. It's just good, simple design to support this, and that's really all you need. So that should, I think, be coming along probably in March. So not too far away. Not too far away. If you don't, rather than getting something in the meantime. Thanks, Tom. Well, you know, Super Booth this year, there may be a Molten module coming along. Might have had something bubbling away. But I mean, I do have a blinder of an idea in my head right at the moment, which I've been scribbling down that I'm going to give to the module fairies. So, a Molten Matrix Mixer. Yeah, I mean, I think ever since sort of nailed that really, between them and Future Sound Systems, I think they've nailed the Matrix Mixer idea. But, you know, that's not a million miles away from the current idea in my head. Yeah. Yeah, it would be nice to... I mean, there's huge gaps in my understanding so far, you know. I could go back through that manual about the VCO, read it another dozen times, and perhaps write it out from memory. Would I understand it? Would I understand why these bits go where they go? I don't know yet. I don't know. It's difficult to know. Difficult to compartmentalise it. Yeah, yeah. I mean, the great thing of working with a collaborator is you just keep throwing ideas at them. And they go, yeah, no, calm down. No, that's not, obviously that's not possible. You know, having a DeLorean time machine stuck in, no, that's not really going to work. Cockerel noise gate, yeah. No, polyphonic, that's too hard. You've got to think simple. I mean, if you consider how everybody's first module, it's like you've launched your modular company, and what do you have? Your first thing's on sale is I've got a malt, right? I've got a malt. It's not just a malt, it's a buffered malt. So that tends to be your first modules. You've got to think at that sort of level, really. So the ability to take a signal and split it into a couple of places, you know, that's pretty much where you need to start. No, indeed. The Molten 2500 modules. Well, as I say, there's a Molten 2500 sequencer turning up soon. I understand. Now, how many people got to see the Arthur Jolly interview I did on the Gear News Twitch channel, on the Musik Netzwerk's Twitch channel? Did anybody see that? Hands up, please, if you saw that. Because there's a very important thing that happened during that interview. There's only, I mean, I think perhaps I may do some hand painted faceplates, because otherwise there's, you know, again, the level of collaboration between me and the people actually building the module, you know, my contribution is small. So, you know, Let's just take it easy. Expectations need to be really, really low. Start with the single FM operator. Cool, blimey. But isn't that an oscillator? So you're talking about what you want is a single voice of anything then? Nope, Ken didn't see that one. What if you didn't see it, Ken? I can't really count on anybody else, can I? Because you're the one guy I can rely on. Oh, well, I better find it then. Hang on. Oh, look, there's me on. Come here. Ooh. Can you link to individual films in Twitch? I'm not that familiar with it, sadly. Oh, sod off with the verification code. So here we go. Down here. There I am. So let me just see if I can, if I do that. All right, okay. No. No. That's us. Stop that. Right. What am I looking at? Chat. Yeah, I'm too old for Twitch. Matt, who was here earlier, he knows all about Twitch. Come on, how do I do... I want to do a... Just kill me now. So, this... No! Put that up there. Okay, good. Bring up the keyboard. Got it. Nice. Oh, there we go. Oh, put that back. Anyway, I did this as part of the live stream a couple of weeks. Gear News were trying to launch their own blog, vlog, interview, channel, live stream thing, and it's sorry, I'm just trying to see whether I'm even remotely in focus. I seem to be. My hair's a bit nuts today. Anyway, yeah, so the idea is that a couple of the guys from Gear News get together and chat about the news, you know, the usual sort of thing. And it's good, it's nice. It's under the umbrella of Music Networks, which is the channel for all of the Gear News affiliated channels and websites. So there's a lot of German content on there too, which can be disorientating if you just drop into their channel and you go, what? But it is also the Gear News place, and so we decided to do an interview with Arthur Jolly from Synth, which was fantastic. He's absolutely someone who I would have had on my show anyway, but Gear News nabbed him first, so it's like, all right, no problem. I'll use it as part of my live stream a couple of weeks, and I'll big it up and invite people along to it. And maybe that'll do some good for it. So what? So yes, what? So sorry, distracted by whatever it is. Anyway, so we had this interview with Arthur Jolly, who's a fantastic guy who builds these amazing synthesizers. I just love them. The work he does over at Synth is extraordinary. He builds fantastic little synths that look awesome and sound great, but he also builds weird projects and crazy things. He got VU meters, wonderful analog looking stuff, great wooden cases and cabinets, and they're not actually that expensive. The only downside being the fact they're in flipping Brazil, which can do terrible things to the shipping. So anyway, so we had a great conversation talking to him, but he told this story, and he did like to tell stories, that's for sure, that he got a tech support call because he's had problems with shipping stuff around the place onto the Rico drum, and he called the guy back, and he had this guy on the phone, and it was talking to him about trying to take the back off, and he was saying, you can always send it back to us, and we'll sort it out. And he says, no, I'd love to just get it working. So he sort of talked him through taking the back off and checking some connections and putting some things back together. And I think they sorted it out, or not entirely sure, but I think it might have been broken beyond repair. Anyway, this guy's name was JJ. And he carried on the support call and worked it out. And afterwards, he realised that it was J.J. Abrams. J.J. Abrams, of course, as we know, top Hollywood director and person interested in electronic music and those sorts of things. And he'd spent hours on the phone with the guy trying to talk him through fixing his Rico drum. And he said, that's interesting for a couple of reasons. First of all, because it's J.J. Abrams, but also there was no way anyone would know about the Rico drum if it wasn't for me mentioning it on my Molten Music Monthly, because they hadn't really promoted it or anything themselves, but I saw it, wrote it up for Gear News, and then talked about it on my Molten Music Monthly. And after I put out that video, Arthur said he got a whole bunch of orders, including this one from J.J. Abrams, which possibly means that JJ watches my videos, which is awesome. That's fantastic. I mean, I'd love to get, if you're out there, sir, I'd love you to come on the show and we'll talk about synths and stuff. That would be fantastic. I would love nothing more than that. That would be awesome. So I have no possible way, I don't think, no way of getting in touch with you. But if you wanted to drop me a line, do. It would be fantastic. I would be fascinated to talk to you for a billion different reasons. But talking about synths is also good, So that was exciting. That was the most exciting thing of the whole 2 weeks, I think. Talking about that could be great. So anyway, who knows what can happen? I mean, stranger things have happened. I got contacted by Steve Davis that time. Do you remember? So, weird things happen like that. And when you're as big a star as I am, then you get to rub shoulders with people of a similar trajectory. Do you know what I mean? Well, it's good to see you're all talking about something else completely different. But if you are out on Twitch, let me see if anybody's out on Twitch. Can I see that? Can I see it down here? Streaming monitor. No. Can't really see that at the moment. But it's been interesting doing the Restream thing. Restream is a online place where you route your video to your live stream to, and that then sends it out to different places. So currently I should be streaming to YouTube, to 2 places on Facebook, to the Molten Music Technology Facebook page, but also to my own personal one, because I know there's a whole bunch of people who have no idea what I do, and they might accidentally stumble into one of my live streams and be none the wiser, which would be great. So I thought I'd try it out and have a look. I mean, to be honest, Twitch, I've had like 2 people. Facebook, I've had like 2 or 3 people. YouTube is always, 100 odd plus. Although I've no idea now, because I'm not looking at the same place. I'm now looking at the Restream monitoring of it as opposed to the YouTube channel. So I actually have no clue how many people are watching it now. But that's all right. I'll just keep on going. I'm sure they all watch the channel, mate. They all do. I'm the only thing that's on. So is there anything else to say about the live streams? Oh, I mean, one thing I would like to say is that I was quite disappointed I wasn't able to get any women into the 2 weeks. I did have like 4 lined up who all of them individually weren't able to make it, which is a real shame. But we'll put them aside for next time. I mean, I was hoping to speak to Demetra at Dreadbox. That sadly didn't work up. And then Julia Bondar from Endorphins. Unfortunately, she was like having a baby, or just had a baby, and was recovering from all of that. Who else? Thea Flowers from Winter Bloom sadly couldn't make it. And Hannah Peel. I also reached out to Hannah Peel, who was going to be on, but then the scheduling didn't work out again because she had some massive deadlines at the end of the month. So, it wasn't that I was in any way trying not to be diverse at all. I was desperately trying to be diverse, and sadly, oddly, wasn't able to make any of that happen. That's not really funny. Sorry. Anyway, so somebody else said something that I thought was funny. Yes, Douglas Adams, indeed. When I first wrote my book on computer music back in 98, 99, I invited him to my book launch. Sadly, he was in Los Angeles at the time. But yes, Douglas Adams is a huge influence on computer music, electronic music, writing, humour, all sorts of things. He's a massive hero of mine. Yeah. Avril Cadabra. Okay. Yes. No, certainly not 50 plus men. No, Eurorack used by all sorts of people. It's just the only ones screaming about it who have nothing else to do in their lives is 50 plus men who like myself like to feel some sense of self-importance through showing off and displaying our wares on the telly, and we're old enough to think that's still cool. It's the point. Whereas all the real artists in Eurorack, and all the women included, are out there actually being creative and releasing music. See, that's the difference. That's the difference. I agree, Andrew. I agree. It's funny. I mean, for me, talking about Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, because I do have it in every form, I am torn between the original radio show and the original TV series. It's those two that seem to occupy the space in my head more than anything that ever came after it. They've never been able to redo it in a successful way, I don't think. They had a go, and there was one or two funny moments in the movie, I thought. But on the whole, the radio show, the TV show, I mean, there's a lot of overlap, obviously, but the radio show goes into a lot more detail, into a lot more places. But that line from Slightly Barfast with Arthur Dent, as they go through the into the space of a literally doesn't exist, I thought was hilarious. Yeah, the books too, of course. The books too. It's always interesting how with each iteration of Hitchhiker's Guide, he was always fiddling with it. I mean, he was like the Lucas of his day. Dare I say, he kept trying to improve upon something which is already awesome, but then he often did, interestingly. My performance was really good. Good, we'll get to that in a minute. Yeah, sometimes it's with the background music on, it gets difficult to know whether people can hear or not, and I don't want to end up just talking for no reason. You saw it on stage, really. Excellent. Excellent. Yeah, see, because we're all people of a certain age. I mean, you should get yourself one of those sets of cards that tells you what to patch into what. Maybe that's the answer. Or maybe I could do those. Maybe. Howard, 42 wasn't really all it was cracked up to be, I have to say. Kevin, have you just thrown me some money? God bless you, sir. That's very kind. So, was there anything else from the live streams? Covered everything, I think, more or less. Yeah, everyone was really good. I really appreciate people giving me their time to do those sorts of things. Yeah. I don't know when I'll do the next lot. It depends what happens. I mean, there was another woman I wanted to speak to from the Stylophone Orchestra because I read a bit about what she'd done at Kingston University. Her name escapes me, unfortunately. And I thought that was really interesting. Read about it in Electronic Sound magazine, and they've just released their album, and it's phenomenal. You know, you expect it to be a bit kind of naff, and no, it's not. It's actually really good, and I mean, it's recognisably Stylophone, but also unrecognisably so. You go, there's no way they did. Yeah, apparently they did. They did this on Stylophones. It's a great project, but the album has just been released. You should go and find it on Bandcamp, I think it is, and go and buy a copy. I have just bought a copy, and I'd really like to talk to her. Dr. Oh, damn it, I can never remember the names. So very much like to get her back. So if we have another band of live streams in a couple of months, maybe with JJ, obviously, Hannah Peel, hopefully, Dr. Stylophone, that would be great. So yeah, packing them in. We shall see. Yes, I have what Mode Electronics are going to release next, sitting over there. But I can't tell you anything about it, of course. But I have every idea as to what they're releasing next. It is going on my bench next week. I have it in for review for Sound on Sound magazine. So that's exciting. Is it exciting? I don't really... Yeah, exciting enough. It's not... I would say this much. It's not revolutionary. It's something... It's more of a variation on a theme. That's the way to put it. Lady Starlight. Maybe. Yeah, Stochastic Instruments was great, wasn't it? And I've got that rig still up here. I've had to take a few bits out of it for my live performance rig, but I'm really seriously thinking about seeing if I can use my orange case up here. Use that purely for stochastic inspirations, you know? So I need, well, ideally 4 things that make sound could go in there, because it was a beautiful thing. You know, it really did shine, I felt, in that live stream. Just with fiddling about. I mean, just the finding of the notes and then those envelopes, I think, is just a brilliant combination. So very interesting. So yeah, I'm going to try to keep that as a stochastic machine and just play on it and enjoy it. And then have my my Rack Brute system here as my live performance, my rough and ready, let's get out there and do stuff type rig. I mean, will that ever make it into here? I don't know. I don't know that there's a room. I mean, somebody said, I think it was it you, Robin, who said should only do it with one lot of this. How on earth could I possibly be using all of those modules? Well, I mean, in the live performance I didn't use the Barillo. I think that's it. I think that's the only thing that's not connected and making noise. Oh, I didn't use beads. There you go. So there's a distortion unit and the texture synthesizer thing I didn't use. That is about it. Everything else was in full use the whole time. Yes, Stylophones are still going. A ribbon controller. Yeah, it's got the Stylophone, if you're not familiar with it, is a little box about the size of this, perhaps size of a Volca. It's got a little touch plate keyboard on the front that you play with a stylus. So it's sort of monophonic and slidey in a ribbony kind of way. Doesn't have much of a sound to it. It's got something wobbling in there, but they have done a slightly enhanced version since, because Stylophone kind of reinvented themselves or became rebought or re-emerged a few years ago, and has been trying to give us a sequel to it with some success, but it's still a going thing. And of course, it was in the Get Back, the Beatles thing as well. It turned up on there, so they've had a bit of a boost from that, and they've also recently done a David Bowie anniversary edition because Bowie also used one. So lots of interesting things. Yeah, it's good, Andrew. Obviously, honestly, it's good. Ian says it'd be interesting in live for live synthesizer performance is specially built VCAs that have multiple internal parts which can be positioned around a 3D space. Okay. Yeah, I mean, you'd have to have a specially built performance space is the downside of that. That's not going to fit in your suitcase, I shouldn't think. I mean, thinking about that, yeah, that's right, Dubrek, thank you. Thinking about that a little bit more is that, I mean, I think I largely ultimately came out in mono, and that's a bit of a thing, isn't it? Is a lot of Eurorack ends up being mono, and you end up outputting in mono. And to be able to do something more than that is a bit of a struggle without some kind of mixer and without multiple channels. However, a mixer is the one thing that's missing from here, and is one thing that I wish to put in and have on its way to me from feedback over in Bucharest. So that's exciting. That's going to sit over here, I think, and it's going to make me have to rearrange again. So I'm going to have to make some hard decisions on what is actually staying in the case. So okay, so as I haven't quite got to the end of my first beer yet, why don't we talk about the performance a little bit, and I'll take you through the patch. Why do we make that a worthwhile thing? Yeah? Now, what was great was that when I put this on my desk this evening, opened it up, plugged it in, it was doing this. All by itself. Heineken? No! How dare you! So can you hear that? Is that too loud? Is that too loud compared to my voice? Can't see from here. So how am I going to do this? I'm going to do something I think I have to have a ruffle it out a little bit. Sorry about the microphone, it's attached to the camera stand. Martin, thank you. So, perfect volume, okay. Okay, good. Well, I'm having to I'm not quite so looking at the microphone anymore, so that let me know what's going on. Okay, so if this is going to be a distraction if I don't talk about it first, then. So this is the time tosser. Now, I've reviewed this for Sound on Sound, and so I can't tell you whether I like it or not. But a quick demo I think I can get away with, because it's not been out in the magazine yet. So the idea of the time tosser is you stick audio in, audio comes out. This is sync just so that the clock is doing the same. And it's very simple. It's just a beat repeat ratchet effect. Essentially, it does more than that, but that's more or less it. So I've got quarters, eighths, and sixteenths. And I just hit it. If I can hear it enough so I can actually get it in time, that will help. So eighths, sixteenths. So that's the idea. I can also do it backwards, or I can mute it out. Now this bit here, this distance, these buttons, these kind of show time. So this is like beat 1, and then everything is moving through here. So if I do everything on this first beat, it just keeps it all in order. But I can not necessarily do that. I can take that beat, which is a different beat. But if I want it to maintain its timing in sync with this, I have to always put it back to that one. There are also patterns inside, so I can hold one down. Anyway, that's the idea. I mean, it's kind of a DJ sort of cool tool for cool people. Yeah, exactly, a techno beatmaster. And so while I had a great time playing with it on the morning when I was practicing before the gig, when it actually came to the gig, I got a little bit shy and wasn't able to really use it to the full effect that I hoped I would. So I was a bit kind of, I don't know, I'll get away with it. But I ended up feeling silly, which is not what you want to feel at all. But it's a very cool little box. Oh no, I shouldn't tell you what I think of it. But it's fun, obviously it's fun, you know, and it does what it does. I mean, there's the one thing that was really effective, I was able to do like a big change because of it. Because essentially it's sampling all the time. If you take that, while that's going on, I can make changes here, and then when I bring it out, we're at something completely different. Do you know what I mean? So, I mean, if I could demonstrate that very quickly. Like so. So we'll put that to one side, then I'll just talk about what is actually going on. So the first thing I had was the polycinematic over here. So that's what this chord is that you can hear, yeah? Transition, that's the word, thank you. I'm just going to go and turn my machine up over here so I can hear it properly. So you might get a little bit of delayed stuff. Anyway, doesn't matter. Keep on going, you fool. So, polycinematic. Now, I really enjoyed reviewing this. In use, it's been more difficult than I thought, trying to find the best way to use it, how to integrate it. That's been tricky, but I really wanted to do it this time, and so I worked at it, and this is what I got to. So I can bring in the filter, or take that out, or I could bring up the release. Seem to be the most interesting things to do. And then down here, I've got this strip here, and I use this for changing the chord. So this is sending CV into the chord selector CV input on here for some chords I have played in via MIDI and stored on it. That makes sense. Like so. So just by touching the strip, I could change the chord. Which was nice. Oh, missed it. So that simple idea, it's nice, it sort of works. I quite liked it in the end. Biggest problem was the output level, was a real difficulty. I still don't quite get it, because I've seen other people using it and it's like, well, how are they getting the level? Because honestly, I've had to go through this board brain injector, which is like a guitar interface, in order to bring the level up. Because if I plug it in directly, let's see if I can do that. Might need to borrow a cable from something. What's that doing? Not a lot. Let's have that. So I take the output direct into something. See, that sounds alright now, but it felt really low, really lost. See, there it is from here, blue. It's going into there. Blah blah blah. This bit, blah blah blah, to there. Okay, so that's it without being boosted. And then that's it being boosted through here. If I bring this up a bit more. It's just really low. So I had to run it through, as I say, the injector here. Which I could have overdriven, but I don't want to. I just needed some more level, and that's the only thing I had that would achieve that. So I'm still trying to work out how best to use the polycinematic at the moment. But yeah, it was a bit dubby, a bit simple. How complicated? Well, yeah, maybe. But the other thing I did is that I actually had it switched with another. Where's it going here? With another trigger from the drum machine, but I never used it in the end. I think it was. Where was it coming from? It was coming from. Yeah, coming from channel 4 on here. I don't know. I had some problems with that. Channel 4. There we go. No, but that's what it was coming from. So what am I trying to do? Oh, I don't know. Anyway, I could have put more gates in, is what I'm saying, I think. Alright, so that was that bit. Okay, so what else did I have going on? What's in here? This is coming from Veils. So from... yeah, bit of that, bit of that, bit of that. So why am I not getting anything from that? That's that bit. This is coming from here. Too much reverb. So I had Castor and Pollux back up here doing the bass line through the Jove, of course. Had the Castor and Pollux linked together, synced together, the two oscillators. I find that works really well. It's being run from these 8-step sequencer down here, which I didn't fiddle with that at all. Actually, I could have, put some extra bits in, but I kind of left it doing its thing, and that fitted in nicely with the. The next thing up I had was the Surface from Qubit, which I had coming from the quantizer down here, the 1U quantizer from Mosaic, which I found to be quite a revelation, although I couldn't quite work out how to make it work, and it still takes me a little bit of time how I get up to function. So it seems to do that, which is weird, so that can't quite be right. See, that is right, but it's not right all at the same time. It's been triggered crazy. That's not right, but there's something I did that got it to work. Oh, I know what it is. I know what it is. The slew was all the way up. So I had my favourite thing, just running very simply on an arpeggiator. That's it, yeah, exactly, Andrew. Quantizer is a Mosaic quantizer, so it's 1U. I've got this panel here of 1U blocks. Let me just bring the camera in a little bit closer. Risk breaking the stream. So this is my even remotely in focus. There we go. So this is this block of 1U that I've got using a thing from Zodes.com, and in this I've got the Sixquencer from TubeTech. I've got the Mosaic quantizer. And I've got a couple of these very useful little utilities from Siam Modular, in fact. Yeah? Got that? No, the ones in the 1U over there are not plugged in as yet. But they're all passive, funny enough. This whole row over here is all passive. So what we're looking at? Oh yeah, so over here, so the quantizer going to the Surface. And so very simply, for some reason it was all in F. I don't know where that came from. It just ended up all in F. Can I write it down? Not from here. No, I don't have a pen. And then I can just stick in other notes. I'm enjoying that quantizer a great deal. The arpeggiator rather. It's a great little interactive function. And that's actually running through the black stereo delay, which is down here. A little bit too much probably. Oh, it's all gone all over the place. And what I liked was that when I turned it all the way down, is it kind of shimmered there in the background. Sorry about that, I seem to have booted them, I hope that's okay. So yeah, so that gave me a nice sort of texture. I could start off with my... They're slightly out of tune now, I think. A little bit of that. A little bit of that. Overloading somewhere. Let's go take it out of that for some reason. It's a time tosser. I did the thing on the time tosser already, look. For the polycinematic, I did an entire video on it, mate. You'll have to go and check that out. I don't... To connect that all up to try to demonstrate that now, it's just not going to happen, I'm afraid. But I did a whole video on it. So, you know, it's in the channel. Go seek it out, and it'll show you how to do that. But yes, you just hook up a MIDI keyboard to it and press a combination of buttons. Right, so the drums then at this point. So for the drums I'm using, one new thing, which is this, which is the bass drum from Erica Synths. So Erica Synths said to me, after I suggested I could do all those videos on their educational Watsits, they said, well, that's lovely of you, thanks ever so much, would you like a module? And I said, oh, okay, that's lovely of you. And I said, I'm really trying to sort out the kick drum. You know, do you have something that would be good with that? And they said, yeah, try the bass drum. So they sent me one. So that's what I'm using through my 6 sequencer down here. And there she blows. Because I've been using that kick drum out of the Pico drums for so long. But now, look, I've got like 9 controls. Which is crazy. But it means now I actually have a drive on it. I can bring it up. And have a little bit of play with it. These are just for CV level. really all I want. I just want that sound with a little bit of play. Now the funny thing is, I think I had the Polycinematic a little bit more on it. That's better. That's better. There's a volt per octave on the bass drum. I mean, there's a pitch CV. You're not back again, are you, dipstick? So yeah, I'm enjoying that. So the rest of the drums came from the noise plethora down here from Bafako, which I built recently. Again, it's quite difficult for you to see, I imagine. But the noise plethora gives me 3 channels of noise, two sort of algorithmic ones up here and a white noise type one down the bottom. So I used all 3 going through the Perkle, which is another Bafako thing, for which I can create percussive envelopes over noise, so they're perfect companions. Set that back a second and I'll demonstrate it to you. So what so I bring in the snare drum, for instance. So this is using the top noise channel. I've got this level on envelope. I've also got an LFO going through it, just sweeping the cutoff. So, you know, you can play with it a little bit as you go. Then in the next channel, I've got a little bit of sort of hi-hat going on. Again, it's just using noise. And so on. I'm just having such a lovely time. I think I've got another channel, yeah, another sort of nice big snare that came in. So then the last thing, I had the Honor wired in up here. Back up again. I had the Honor wired in Now for this, I tried to get clever. I tried to get a little bit modular with it. So for this, I am sampling the output of the quantizer through a diff kit sample and hold, taking that to be the tune for the honor, which I could then bring in through this filter every now and again. And it was just kind of a bit more random and odd. That sounds more weird than it was. Oh yeah, but I've also got it going through the magneto for reasons I can't explain, so I have no idea what that's doing half the time. But it gave me something different to do, you know what I mean? So I'm moving from sort of those bits back into this fella. And then I think the last thing I did was I routed the polycinematic through the data bender. So yeah, that kind of thing. That was the idea. That was the idea. I mean, obviously I desperately wanted some other transition to something else, but you know, I had what I felt was 4 things to play with. I'm focus. I can't see myself. Let's say that's a yes. Hang on, sorry, I'm big on the screen. There we go. There we go. So, what am I saying? Yeah. So there it was. So I had the bass line, I had some string type sounds, I had a chord, I had some percussion, and I had some widdly bit over the top. I mean, that sort of felt like enough to pull off a 15-minute play with. So that was the idea. The time tosser was just trying to make it a bit of a laugh, but also I really liked the way it could mask a transition. Excuse me. Was quite cool, but you needed really to practice that quite hard to get that right. Sorry, I was just trying to focus. The bass drum was really good. I really appreciated that. I think using the plethora for noise and percussion works really well through the Perkle. That sort of engine is really good, and I like the fact that I can play with those snarey, hi-hatty sounds and the envelope of them in the Perkle. it's a great combination. So that is really working for me as a bit of a rhythm section. Probably need something else. Andrew, nice, thank you. So that's good. The Surface, I continue to really like it. Only just really that particular sound, combined with the ARP, just brilliant. Works really well. And because of this, got this little keyboard here on the arpeggiator, I can just change the notes and change the chords very, very simply. So that was brilliant. Polycinematic was a bit more experimental. It seemed to work in that space. It just seems to be quite a bit of effort to do more with it, and so I still need to work on that a little bit. But using the little light strip down here to change the chord was just genius, that I came up with that. That was really great. Data Bender just seems to work well when you plug it. You can plug it in and you can instantly use it. Beads, you cannot do it. It does not do that. I'll bring this in a little bit more. I find that working with beads, in many ways you need to find one sound and you need to put one sound through beads and play with that sound. Trying to use it in the context of something else going on, I can't hear what it's doing. I don't know what anything does. I mean, as I say, when I sit down with a single noise, I can play with it and I can go, okay, I understand it, I understand that, I understand that. I go away, come back again, and I have no idea. I've no idea again what it's doing. So, although I've got a lot more out of it than I ever did clouds, it's still not really doing it for me. Which is a shame, because I feel it should be. Now, I do have something turning up soon. They're called the Microcosm from Hyper something. They asked me if I fancy trying out their pedal. I've seen very cool people with this pedal doing very cool things. So I thought, yeah, I could do a bit of that. And that is, it has a granular sort of texture thing going on in it. So maybe I'll get on better with that. Certainly looking at it online, the layout of it and what the knobs are called seems to be a lot more coherent than what Beads is. I don't know. I don't know what it is about it that I can't seem to fathom. But anyway, by the by. So I don't know that this is going to stay. It doesn't seem to be serving any purpose. And space is really at a premium, because I'm going to have to fit quite a large mixer section in here. Because the other thing that, I mean, I can mute things out. I mean, I didn't really do that much of that. In this particular patch, I got rid of stuff by sort of turning down the decay on the Surface, turning down the release on the Polycinematic, turning down the filter on the baseline, and a little bit of the levels over here on Veils. That's really how I coped with it more than anything else. I mean, I have been using the mute-on to great effect over here, the SFF mute-on, because it's also a great way of bringing in up to 8 channels of sound and then routing out of a single one into my output. So that's been really useful. It's sort of a mixer without being a mixer. But when I get a proper mixer in here, maybe I can get rid of the mute-on. And that'll give me a bit more space, because I can just use the 6-channel mixer. And maybe that'll be enough. I don't know. I mean, the Percord also operates as a mixer, which is really useful for keeping all those percussion stuff under control. Don't know. Going to have to see, but something is definitely going to have to go. The other thing is magneto. I don't know. I know people love magneto. I sort of do occasionally. But it takes up a lot of space for something I don't really know whether I like using or not. I don't know. It's often I'm just after a simple delay, and this just doesn't seem to do it. It's always something complicated. It's always 4 exact repeats really quickly. It's really hard to get the clock down. Even the speed weirdy thing here is only weird for a moment, and then it's back to doing what it was doing. If I could use the looping part of it more, that might be interesting, rather than just trying to use it as an echo, because it's sort of, I don't know. I get on much better with the stereo delay. In fact, I get on much better with the delay. I won't say in the disting, but the delay in the echo, in the Pico DSP. the delay in there is easier to cope with than this. I don't know what that's about. So, but pulling out these two would give me a lot of room, and I could stick some effects in here that perhaps I'm more likely to use. So the delay from here can go up here, and that would give me room for my mixer. So that's definitely a plan going forward. The sequencer, absolutely brilliant. Totally love it. I was worried because there was that other one that I was thinking of getting from IntelliGel, I think. But it was just too wide for this unit, and I liked it because it had some longer patterns in it. But, who needs long patterns, man? I don't know. But for simple 16-step percussion sequencing, and then with a mute function to be able to turn them on and off, perfect. Just exactly what I've been after, that I haven't been able to get in any other module, percussion-wise, within Eurorack. And the fact that I can stick it in this orientation, same with the ARP here, is just brilliant. Totally brilliant. Totally brilliant. So yeah, on the whole, that all worked and came together. I need some more envelopes, I think, because while the dual Ericsson's dual ASI over here is very good, it's not always exactly what I'm after. I don't quite know how to explain that. So yeah, that's where I am. I do have a couple more Cosmotronic modules, which I will grab. Oh, I'll bring this as well. All right, so I'll let you know what's coming up. Maybe is a good thing to do at this point. So I've got these two in. I didn't really have the time to incorporate them into what I was doing, or work out what the heck they're doing. But one of the things that I'm conscious of is the loss of that kick drum into the mix. So I've been looking at a way of doing a bit of side chaining to try to bring that out. I'm not entirely sure exactly how I patch all that in, but that's a thought. But anyway, Cosmotronic sent me these two. One's called Peridam, which is, I don't know. I think this is a distortion module. I think that's right. That's what it looks like. Feedback, low, high, blend, harmonics, phase, drive, feedback. Yeah, so I think this is a distortion module. Nice. Give that one a go. The other one I think is this sidechain that I'm talking about. Sidechain compressor. Called the Messor. Oh, what's the matter with you? I know we're supposed to be all blokes on here or something, but we're really not interested. We're kind of talking about synths and stuff. It's not very sexual. I'm sorry. It just ain't. So, it ain't working. Hi, Twitch. Good to see you on Twitch. It's really nice that you're there. I appreciate you. So, yeah, this is the other one, the Messor. And this definitely is much more of a compressor thing going on, hence the name, I suppose. Sidechain in it's got. So I don't really know how any of that works, so it's going to be interesting to work that out. Oh, the Happy Nerding FX. Yeah, I've heard those are good, actually. Ah, yes, but this has a sidechain, so I don't need your WMD compressor. I have one here. It's just a question, a matter of actually working out what that does. I don't know what that means. Anyway, so those are coming up in the future. I'll work out how I use them and try to do something on it. See me, I'm just trying to be tidy so I don't lose track of things. Very easy to lose track of things. Squeeze that in there. Right, good stuff. The other thing I'm doing, so I've always got another project on the go. Is, well, you might have noticed my 1U stuff creeping around the place. So I'm going to do a bit of a... I'm going to do a bit of a video on 1U. Because it seems to be something that's not very served in terms of explanations. You're supposed to just know what it's about. And I found it, until I actually sat down and really looked into it, it would always confuse me. And I was going, why do... So I imagine it's the same. Other people probably have a similar experience. So I thought, I mean, and this is a good example of it, that I assumed that this was IntelliGel size. I just assumed that it was. And it's not. It's actually Pulp Logic size, weirdly. It's too big. So, anyway, so I bought a load of bits and pieces, both in Pulp Logic size, like this little Foxfield thing here, which fits there properly. Yeah, lovely. And in IntelliGel size, and some other things in between, so that I could make a video about both formats and their pros and cons, and why one is one and why one is the other. And I got a whole bunch of different adapters. Look at that. Look how lovely that is. So this is like a 3U adapter. So you stick it in your case. Can you see that anywhere? And then you put your Pulp Logic ones, because these are IntelliGel obviously, so they're not going to fit. So they end up kind of going sideways. Is that a good idea? Don't know, but it might be. But I thought I would try these things out. So all these things are available through Thonk, and you know, I threw a little bit, you know, a few quid at it. Got a few adapters and bits and pieces and stuff that needs soldering, and I thought it would make for an interesting video to put all that stuff together and to demonstrate both formats working or not working, pros and cons of each, and explain the differences so that you don't get as confused as I was about it. That's the plan anyway. And I've certainly got a bit more of respect for Pulp Logic than I did to start with. I just assumed that they were going to fade away and IntelliGel was going to rule the roost. But actually, maybe not. So I think interesting. I think there's life left in that yet. So I've got all sorts of adapters to go in different directions and a whole bunch of little 1Us to build. So that's cool. I would like to do that really soon because I feel it's a good idea, and if I'm not careful, all the other better YouTubers will do it first. As always seems to happen. So yeah, that would be good. Want to do that. Yeah. What else has come up? Other than that, my next project is the Surface Pro 8. Which I must do some work on because that's well overdue now. There's just other things keep getting in the way. So I'm going to spend some time on that as soon as I can to try to demonstrate the performance potential, how many plugins it can run, oh yeah, all that kind of stuff, and any tweaking that needs to be done, because that needs to be tackled, I think, quite importantly. So I have that coming up and very much playing on my mind. One thing I had, actually, I'll just... Get this. Ow! Which was ages and ages ago. At the beginning of the pandemic, I did a video on the Restream that had just arrived, and it's been a massively successful video, and I think helpful to people, which is great. That's what you're after. So IK Multimedia have come up with an Restream Pro and also a Solo. And I asked them to send them in so that I could try them out. And I've meant to do so by now. But again, it's just finding the time to squeeze these things in. But I absolutely believe that this was going to be my streaming device for the live stream performance I did from Norwich. And it totally wasn't. It totally didn't do it. It could have done it, sort of did it, but I didn't really trust it. Not with a phone. I think with other things. I mean, this, like the original Live Extreme, it has a couple of unique features which make it awesome for a particular group of people. And so I think when I review this soon, I'll be able to demonstrate that, how awesome it can be for a particular application. For running with an iPhone, though, it seems to be just beset with problems. Because, I mean, I don't know if I assume it's an iPhone function, is that this doesn't seem to turn on until it's working. You know, you plug it in and a light comes on, but it's not really working. You can't get the sound through, and then you can't work out, is sound coming in or is it going out or not, until you've started your app and started your stream, and then it comes to life, by which time it's too late to check all your settings and bits and pieces because you're already live. So it's very difficult to have confidence in it in that sort of situation. Even though it takes battery, so it no longer requires powering from the iPhone, it will just work. But it doesn't just work, because as I say, until the app is running that's using it, it just doesn't seem to function. I find that most disturbing, and I think it's an iPhone thing. So I thought, right, sod that, I'll try something else. So you might have seen some of my crazy tests I did before the live stream. So then I tried out the latest audio interface I got in, which is the Minifuse and Arturia. I thought, that'll work then, so I plugged that in. First of all, I had to work out how on earth do you get this power in an iPhone, and I had to work out all the USB hub business. But once I sorted that out and had that plugged in, then it seemed to work. But in testing the live streams, did a whole bunch of quick tests, it seemed to crackle. The audio through it was crackling, clicks and pops like you'd get on a bad PC. And this was connected to an iPhone. I couldn't work it out. I kept trying things, retrying things, retesting, could not work it out. So then I replaced it with my good old Motu M4, my go-to audio interface for most things knocking around, and it worked beautifully, perfectly. So there's something amiss with the iOS drivers or something with the Minifuse. It's just not there. I don't know what that is. I don't know what that's about. I mean, I've tested the Minifuses perfectly on a desktop computer, written a review all about them on a desktop computer. For iOS, it seems to be a slightly different story, and that's very disturbing. But this worked perfectly in the end, and that's what I ended up using. And it's got a proper display on it and bits and pieces, so it ended up being a more useful device, I have to say, than the Audio Fuse, for a couple of different reasons. But I mean, the beauty with these is that they're on regardless of whether the app is running or not. So you have a certain amount of confidence in them happening and working properly. But I just thought that was interesting, how the thing that I absolutely assumed was just going to knock it out of the park just was too flaky, so it seemed. But I will do a proper review of that in time. Good. I mean, where are we? What sort of time are we on? All right, there we go. So it's probably time to wind it down, I should think. Any other questions then in the chat, or any other offers of sex? Of course, those are always appreciated. No, I can't think of anything else. Can't think of anything else coming up. Surface, got to do the Surface. I mean, I've got other things for other reviews to do of bits and pieces. Oh yeah, that's the other thing. We got an Oculus VR thing, the Quest 2. That's what I'm after for Christmas for the family. And there's quite a little bit of Eurorack and other bits and pieces in VR that I'd very much like to do videos on. I think that would be fascinating. Oh, I think I would be fascinating in it. And you'd be fascinated to watch it, I'm sure. So what are we doing in the chat then? Can you talk a bit more about the time tosser? No, I can't. Sadly, I can't. You can read my review in Sound on Sound, which should be out on the 17th of February. But until then, I can't really talk about it, other than the demo that I did. But it's basically a beat repeat, and it's fun, you know. Oh, what's happening now? Oh, for God's sake, what's the matter with people? What is the matter with people? I mean, honestly, do they have nothing better to do? I mean, really? Gracious. I don't know, Andrew. I don't know what's going on with the spam tonight. But it's we're really bringing it in. Brad, yeah, cool. Yeah, I'm absolutely planning to do that. I need to get on with that. That was me, Andrew. Good. So, yeah, let me have a quick scan back to see if I missed anything. A Molten Viewers meetup. See, I'd love to do that. It just kind of feels like, I mean, it's one of those things that it's like throwing yourself a surprise party. You don't believe anyone would actually turn up for it. So it kind of feels, well, I don't know, I'd feel too anxious about the whole idea. But it's lovely. Maybe there's something we can do at a synth fest or event or something. It's got to be a possibility. Yeah, those Danny Sound kits do look good. Yeah, good luck with that. Just, take it easy, relax. It's nothing so important, Da, da, da. So... Well, that's the thing, Native. There are different sizes of 1U. And if you think about it, it's kind of obvious. Because if you think about 3U in Eurorack, you see, it's actually not 3U. Because the 3U, the engineering 3U from Doepfer includes the lip. The lip on rails, if you've got a set of rails, you've got a lip at the top, and that takes off a millimetre or something, top and bottom. So your modules are not actually 3U high. They are 3U high minus the size of that lip. So when IntelliGel came to make 1U size, they followed that exact same thing. They did the same thing. So they were using rails with lips like what Eurorack does generally. And so because they were doing that, they made them 1U apart, just like Doepfer did with his 3U, which means they're not quite tall enough. I can show you the difference. This, of course, is blowing all of the awesomeness of my other video I'm going to be doing. But never mind, for you good people, I will blow it. So... Can I show this? So there we go. Got to fiddly bloody things. So there's your difference in height. Do you see? See that difference in height? So obviously they would sit, there's your lip on the top and the bottom. So IntelliGel size allow for a lip. Pulp Logic assume that your rails are flat. And so they fill the entire 1U. Get it? That's why they're different. Now, you can potentially plug an IntelliGel into a Pulp Logic one. It's just, you screw it in at the top or at the bottom or slightly askew. You can't fit a Pulp Logic one into an IntelliGel one because they're too small. So that is the two formats, and both have equal rights to be right, because this one is 1U, like the format, it is 1U. This one isn't 1U, but it fits into 1U space provided by the lips of the rails. But they call it 1U. So there we go. But it took me ages to find that out. I can't believe it's not more common knowledge. I had to like dig around in Modular and all sorts, find out these sorts of answers. The other thing that Pulp Logic does is they tend to go for this sort of power. So that's the other slight weirdness. But thankfully you can get little adapters that adapt this to Eurorack. But it does mean that you can sort of plug a bunch of these into a single Eurorack port, potentially. Which would make sense if you're building something small, which is what it was all been about. Building something small, really. That's been Pulp Logic's idea. Not so much of IntelliGel. So there you go. So anything left? Edna's showing off about her Fairlight now at the moment. So yeah, Synthfest. Obviously I don't know if there is a Synthfest. I'm assuming there may be at this time. Yeah, Eurorack is fairly small enough, but you know, you just keep chipping away at it in order to get it to some kind of reasonable price. It's because it's fun, really. I mean, there is an absolute argument to be said that Eurorack is plenty small enough in 3U, but you know, you could build it into a tin can and have all sorts of little bits and pieces going on. You've got to use your imagination. It can't be all about these big, chunky, flashy modules. You've got to be using the rootsy stuff, I think. But also, you know, this application here, for me, really sells it. That's the whole reason I thought it really went beyond being a curiosity on my larger rack. I suddenly came to a situation where I need something in that orientation that really works better. And that, obviously, I could have a drum machine that is that wide. No problem. I could use, for instance, the Erica Synths drum machine. Huge, fantastic. But I don't necessarily want something to use up all that space, and so this allows it to do something else. Anyway. Cool. So I think have toyed with 5U. In fact, I have Sam Battle's Look Mum No Computer metric 5U in a box over there, which I got started with probably now 2 years ago, really sadly, or was it a year ago, 18 months ago? We did a session on that, and I plan to do more. I will be building that Cosmo synth one of these flipping days. You mark my words. Just need to finish a Descartes Dream first. That's what I've promised myself. I need to do that too. Too much to do. Always. Too much to do. Right. Okay. So I think I got to the end of this. I can't think of any other things to tell you just now. But yeah, thanks for all the support during the live streams. That was awesome. It's always nice to see familiar names popping up in the chat and saying hello. That's great. That does me the world of good. That does. Thank you for that. Thanks for all the lovely comments about the performance. That was good. I'm hoping to do one in Colchester soon. I'm just sort of working out the details of that. And that's at a much bigger stage of the sound system and with an audience, which is something we didn't really have in Gringos very much. Oh, we had a dozen people, I think, which was cool. And half of us at least played. So we had, again, an interesting night of electronic noises and bits and pieces and some DJing. It was great. It was good. But this other thing is probably going to be bigger. And I'm still just scratching my chin about that. But that'll be cool. Other than that, there's Super Booth coming up in a few months' time, which I'm going to get to a day of, I think, at the very least. We're going to see. Otherwise, I'm just keeping at it. Surface Pro videos coming soon. The 1U thing, working on. Lots of other bits and pieces. Yeah, so cool. Lots of stuff to come, and always keep looking out for the series of DIY on the Erica synth things. That'd be great. So it'd be great to have a meet up at Synthfest if that's a possibility. I don't know. Again, we'll see. Maybe, I mean, maybe. I don't know. I mean, the last Synthfest I did, I was working it for Sound on Sound, and so I was there like the night before, and there was a dinner, and there was a meet up with this, that, and the other. So it just depends on what's going on, I suppose. But if nothing else is going on, then there must be something. We can do, just to feel embarrassed about, to shuffle around and feel awkward at. That'd be great. Let's do that. Anyway, good. Thanks for hanging out. That's been super. I will see you soon. I'm going to go over there and find my outro music. And yeah, I really do need... In fact, I'm going to try... Maybe this week I'll have a go at recreating my theme tune from my Molten Monthlies on this. Because I do have a chord, you know, and it does have that chord bit in it. Maybe I could do a slightly modular version of it. And then do a different video intro. Got to do something. Got to change that. Anyway, lovely, super. Thank you, and go make some tunes and that. And I'll press the button over here.